Welcome back, friends. So have you ever spent hours layering colored pencils only to see those annoying grainy white dots? I'm sure we've all been there. Now thankfully there's one technique that completely changed my results, and that's blending with alcohol. And in this video I'm going to show you how to use it and when to use it in a few simple steps. As always, we need to start with layering, where we build up colors gradually, usually starting from the lightest to the darkest colors. And like I always say, I've got lots of videos on this channel where I actually go through the details of layering. I'll be putting up links to a few of them in the description. Now, irrespective of how many times you layer, you will still likely have a rough or grainy look. But don't worry, just keep watching. I'll show you how to get rid of that using this technique. This is the drawing at this stage, and you can still see the grainy, unrealistic appearance it has, even though I've done a lot of layering at this stage. Now onto the technique that completely transforms the drawing. Now you may actually go ahead and use real alcohol for this. It works very well. But thankfully there's a more refined solution in the form of a solvent, which in most cases has alcohol as the main constituent. The way I use it is quite simple. I dip a paintbrush into the solvent and gently apply it to the drawing. Now you can clearly see how this quickly transforms the drawing. You can tell it's looking a lot more vibrant, and also the white grain of the paper have started to sort of disappear. Now what's happening here is that the solvent is merging the colored pencil strokes together to form a uniform layer, which makes the drawing look like a painting. And this is just the first session of blending. It gets even better as we go along. A few things to note. First, this method works best if you are using paper that has some form of texture. This is because the solvent needs to be worked into the grain of the paper for the best results. Using a smooth paper is a little tricky because the solvent will just glide right off the paper, leaving you with a messy look. Secondly, you need to use very little solvent at a time. Using too much solvent will end up soaking the paper, and that also leaves you with a messy look. Now to avoid using too much solvent, you can gently press the tips of the brush against the tissue paper after picking up the solvent before actually blending. After the first session of blending, I allow the solvent to dry for about 5 minutes. I then go in again with the colored pencils to help cover even more of the grain of the paper. The layering I do at this point is not as extensive as the first. I just look at the reference and adjust colors where I need to, making sure I cover as much of the grain of the paper as possible. And this is another big advantage of blending with alcohol or solvent, the fact that it allows you to layer again so easily and effortlessly. It's honestly a huge game changer in my opinion. I then blend again one last time, and this time the grain of the paper has disappeared even more. In fact, it's almost impossible to spot any grainy white dots within the confines of the drawing at this stage. And that is what helps make our drawing realistic. This is because the more solid or opaque the drawing is, the more realistic it actually looks. I mean, think about it. In nature, you don't have white grainy dots appearing through objects, right? These dots are just the grain of the paper, the texture of the paper. And the more you eliminate them, the more realistic your drawing will look. Now you may be wondering, why not use smooth paper then? And that seems logical, but the truth is even the smoothest paper still has some amount of grain, and using colored pencils alone will not give you the realistic look this method gives you. Sure, you can use smooth paper and not have to worry about blending with solvent, since they don't work very well on such papers anyway. In fact, I've got a couple of videos on this channel like that, but this video is all about making your drawing look as realistic as possible. The last step is crucial, the details. I've always said that details are what make a drawing come to life, and the beautiful thing about this method is that apart from making your drawing look very vibrant, it also makes your details stand out as well. It may have something to do with the alcohol itself, but that's just something I've noticed. There is basically no way I would have gotten this level of detailing if I had just burnished rather than blending with the alcohol or solvent. And using this method is just fun overall. I mean, it's basically a win-win. You get a hyper-realistic drawing and also have fun while at it. Now, you may be wondering where to get such solvents. You can get colored pencil solvents in basically any art shop. They are quite easy to obtain, and there are different forms. Apart from the alcohol-based ones, there are those that are turpentine-based, and others contain citrus. In fact, baby oils can actually be used as well, although the results they provide can be slightly underwhelming compared to the others. At this stage, I'm still going on with the details, making sure the final piece looks as realistic as possible and as close to the reference as possible. If you're new to colored pencil drawing, you may want to check out my absolutely free guide on the basics of realistic colored pencil art. Link will be in the description. Now, this is the final drawing, and as you can tell, it looks very vibrant and very realistic, all because of the alcohol-based solvent we used. Now for context, this is how the drawing looked before we blended with the solvent. Very grainy and does not look realistic at all. And this is the same drawing after blending with the alcohol-based solvent in this case. The difference is clearly night and day. Don't forget to keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next one.